Hey, it's Kevin Kenny. Good morning. We're live in New York City for the Build series, and our guest today has a brand new album coming your way entitled Building Balance November 8th, and is currently in the midst of a 15-day tour entitled the Karaoke Extravaganza. Please give it up for Alan Stone.
Hello, hello.
How are you, man?
I'm great.
You're just like a walking good vibe.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if anyone's ever given you that moniker or that title, but I want to bestow that upon you today.
Thank you, my friend. That might be the greatest review I've ever got in my life.
Is that what you want your music to make people feel?
Just feel something, yeah. I mean, when you organize musical notes into a song, you're really just kind of recycling stuff. I mean, just like the Junk Jams video we saw just now. You're just recycling things and sounds and notes that you've heard before and kind of putting them into a new box. And I always just want people to feel something. I can't really dictate what they feel, but a good vibe would be a wonderful thing.
Right? What a great outcome.
Yes, right, exactly.
Before we talk about all of the exciting things you have going on right now with the album and the tour, I just want to get a little bit of a better understanding of Alan Stone, the kid growing up in Washington.
Yeah.
Were you just somebody, I mean, I've watched your shower sessions, which is a YouTube series. Sounds far more nefarious.
Yeah.
But no, you just seem like this person who's just like fixated on sound and singing. And were you just that kid that almost couldn't shut up in school?
Yeah, I grew up in a family where my dad did a lot of voices. My dad was like a humorous man, and I think just pitch and voice and being fun with your voice was a staple in my family.
What did Dad do for a living?
Well, my dad was a minister growing up, but also just a funny man.
Yeah. Strict household? Strict upbringing?
Yeah, it was pretty strict. Maybe sheltered would be the right circumstance. I grew up in a small town, and when everybody knows that you are the minister's kid, they kind of they don't invite you to go
to the cool stuff.
Yeah,
the little dangerous stuff.
Like,
you don't get the invite.
Just leave Alan out of this whole beating mailboxes with baseball bats trip that we're doing. So I think that's maybe what happened more so than my folks, locking me in my room and.
Well, tomorrow is, if you're watching this live, is Mischief Night, Cabbage Night, depending on what you call it. Did you ever go out the night before Halloween and just wreak havoc on the town?
No, you see, we didn't.
Is that a New Jersey thing? No, that's a thing, right? That's not just me being a dirtbag. All right, right? Okay. Oh, is it really? All right. Yeah, it really is though. We would just go around and terrorize the town. It's actually kind of crazy now I'm thinking about this out loud. That this is what we would do, and it was kind of accepted. Like the cops were like, we'll give them till 10, you know, it's kind of wild, right?
Just get a receipt. That's it.
Yeah, my delinquency aside, did that inform your musical education at all? Were you not maybe allowed to listen to certain music as a kid?
Yeah, I sort of had to seek it out. I had an older brother who was hip. And kind of when I was 4th, 5th grade, he would start bringing home Weezer records and the Verve Pipe. And he brought home Cake.
Yeah.
And I remember getting into Cake at a very young age, but kind of having to sneak in it and making sure my folks didn't figure out that that's what I was listening to in my Walkman.
Right. Yeah, the kids today will never understand the art of listening at the perfect volume so you can enjoy it, but your parents don't know what they're saying.
Yeah, the headphones nowadays are NASA engineered noise canceling. The ones I had, they're just little tiny sheets of padded.
Yeah.
It was terrible. Yeah. You could hear everything that was happening.
Were you allowed to watch MTV as a kid? Because I think that's always a big dividing line of were you able to, you talk about being sheltered. Were you able to watch music videos and things like that?
No, not really. Well, we just didn't have it. I had PBS and 2, 4, and 6, man. And
so
we were country. We grew up in the country.
Your sound, and even with this new record, it's been described as almost like a cross between Stevie Wonder and D'Angelo, and sort of your affinity we can talk about for 70s funk and 70s soul. And it sounds like that's really where this is all born out of. That's probably what you were raised on in that house, right?
Yeah, well, that came later in my life. I found Stevie Wonder and R&B kind of 16, 17, 18. A friend of mine gave me a Stevie Wonder record. I remember going, wow, that's something special. But it was probably the introduction of Cake and Red Hot Chili Peppers that sort of maybe gave me that boost into funk and the bass and the drums doing something a little bit more interesting than just bang 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 bang.
I was about to bust out a freestyle.
Yeah, my fault.
It was that the through line, the bass, because I think of Cake as sort of an obscure. They're very abstract, you know, especially as a kid. He's basically talking to you, which makes it kind of accessible. As a kid, you know all the lyrics, you can kind of follow the story there. But then the Chili Peppers is very different, right? Very in your face, over the top. There's so much going on. It's like a rock show.
Yep. Yeah, those two bands, I always feel like they are like the modern representation of what Sly and the Family Stone were doing.
Okay.
Because there wasn't a lot of singing happening with Sly and his bands. It was funk mixed with like some I guess there was singing, but those two connect in my musical mind.
Yeah. So the love of 70s funk and soul, is it purely the sonics of it, or is there something to be said about the culture of those times that you also have an affinity for?
Yeah, I think probably all of the above. Yeah. I think everybody in music looks back to those times and, you know, thinks so highly of it.
Why, though?
I don't know. I did a show over near Woodstock recently this summer and sort of walked around the grounds, and there was definitely a vibe. Yeah. But I'm not sure. It might have just been that that media and recorded audio mixed with like the culture war that was happening around Vietnam. I'm not positive. I would have loved to have been alive for it, though.
Do you almost think of the 70s, I think about this sometimes, as like the pinnacle of visceral music? Because, and the reason I say that is because at that point in time, like, humans, artists, have had like 20 years to sort of perfect this idea of rock and roll since the dawn of the 50s, right? And then computers and machinery in music has not really like come into the mainstream yet, so you're really getting these like incredibly human recordings, you know, with flaws and with there's something so tangible about those 70s records. Do you ever think about that in terms of this convergence of like?
Sure, I think it was a convergence of a lot of things. I mean, you have to also understand that there was some substance being invented in those days that was getting leaked out to the mass public that was influencing a lot of perspective, a lot of music, and I definitely think that had its play in the generation and the music of the 70s as well.
Right, and there's something magic about any element, whether it be a substance or an instrument or a sentiment rather, or a culture where it's like introduced for the first time, and how honest that is, right, and how earnest it is, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about building balance, because this comes out November 8th, which is that next? That's next Friday. This year is flying by. Yeah. Does it feel that close for you?
No.
I mean, how long has it been done? Is this something that got turned in late? Has it been done for a while?
Well, I thought it was done like 3 years ago, but you know how those things go. Mm-hmm. It's been done for, you know, at least 6 or 7 months. We put it to master. Usually records are done, you know, sometimes even a year before you put it out, because you want to set up. It's been done for a while. I've been really excited about getting it out and letting people put ears on it. But it's been a while since I've released music.
Does that ever make you nervous? Of course, as fans, we just can't wait to hear the thing, and we're just excited for it. But do you ever get nervous as an artist of like, well, is what I said on this record what I would want to say today? You know, given the time passed. Do you ever think about that?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't really worry about that, because do my best to make it a point that when I'm creating in the studio, I'm present with that time frame, and what I'm saying and what I'm relaying in that moment feels I'm connected to.
So it's forever honest.
Yeah, it's forever honest. And even, you know, you can go back and say, well, at the time, this is what I was feeling. I've written songs, you know, 10 years ago that, you know, I may not fully disagree with, but my perspective has changed since. You know, I'm a father now. I got married. My life and how I live it is completely different than when I was like 22 and eating dirty pizza and living on couches. It's just the evolution of humans, and I like that about artists. You know, I like seeing an artist's growth and seeing them change throughout their career and then seeing their perspectives grow.
Right. Speaking of being married, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
You performed at your wedding.
Yeah.
I imagine, you know, my wedding day in the future to be a very stressful day for anybody, right? And then on top of it, you have to perform.
Yeah, I can't, and I never get a day off.
Did did that lessen the nerves? Because maybe you could lose yourself in the or maybe you feel most at home on stage. How did that impact the wedding day? I think that's so fascinating.
Yeah, it was easy.
Really?
You know, it was a song that I wrote for my wife.
Give You Blue?
Give You Blue, yeah. Just released it recently. Check it out if you want. Yeah, it was a song I wrote for my wife for our wedding day. So I was excited to share it.
Oh, really? First live performance of it ever?
No, I'd been performing it for quite a while, but it was written right after we got engaged, and you know, blue in the word blue and the color blue in music is typically like surrounded by darkness and you know, blues music, but blue to me is this very great color, blue skies. You know, it's a light and easy color, and it felt like relationships are that. They're a little of darkness and they're a little bit of lightness, and it's all kind of wrapped up into one. And I wanted to write a love song that expressed that was honest and pure and true to that point.
Along those lines, I mean, now being a father and a husband, how has that impacted your art? I know it's a cliche question you're probably going to get at every interview you do for the album, but it has to impact you somehow, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit more frugal on the road, you know. I'm maybe snagging some green room food at the end of the night and putting it in my bag. It makes the road a little bit trickier, you know, missing my son and my wife. But it also makes it more focused and more exciting, you know. I'm a solo artist, so not only am I like selling my music, but I'm also kind of selling myself a little bit, like trying to get people to care about me personally. And you can get wrapped up in that when you have managers and you have a team around you of people whose job it also is to sell you. Everything kind of just goes back to you. Well, when you have a kid, it refocuses that energy. It's like, yeah, okay, I get that I'm selling this record and my likeness and all that, but now it's for this beautiful thing. It's for my family, and that has been a really cool refocusing and awakening for me in the last. Rudy's 8 months old, so it's a new horizon, a new landscape that I'm stoked about.
Is there a song you can point to on the track list of Building Balance that you feel like maybe you couldn't have written when you were 22 eating dirty pizza?
There's a song on the record called "Back to the Swing" that I wrote with my live band. I've been touring with my band for some of them close to 10 years now. And we got in the studio and wrote some songs together. And this is a song about perspective and how the lens that you choose to put on your camera, your mind's camera, is your own doing. And you can receive the world and the surrounding input however way you want. It's maybe a little unpoetic way to explain it, but I feel like that record could not have been written when I was 23. When I was 23, I was like, this is all, yeah, and I was, you know, I just left the church and was extremely bitter about religion and politics and other people. And now in my 30s, I'm like, wait a second. This is really about how I'm receiving it, right? Because I can't control the world or people or others' opinions, or really the only thing I have the power to control is how I receive it and how I data bank it in my system. And I don't think I could have wrote that song. And that's what Building Balance is about. I mean, it's a coming of age of me trying to find not only where I fit in the musical scope of myself, pulling from folk music and rock music and R&B music and funk music and all these different genres of music that I love and enjoy, but also attempting to try and find my center as a man, because it took a while. It took some time to figure out exactly how I operate in this world and how I maintain stability.
Were you someone that just would go so far in each direction, almost like a pendulum?
Yeah, it was funny. It was like a heartbeat kind of,
Yeah.
you know, if you see it on a rate on a bang, 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 bang. There's no like through line. It was just kind of constantly up and down and up and
Yeah.
down. Which it, you know, people can operate like that, but I couldn't.
Yeah. You it's funny, the up and down and the contrast of this album. You recorded, is it half of it you did in the woods, basically in a cabin, and the other half you did in Nashville? Is that right?
Yeah,
is that something we can hear or not so much?
We recorded we wrote a lot of it up I was living in a cabin in eastern Washington State, kind of out in the middle of nowhere for a few years. And a good grip of the songs on the record, me and my live band wrote out there. Most of it's recorded in Nashville, and then a little bit of it was done and recorded in L.A. But the studios, the good studios are in Nashville and L.A. There wasn't any incredible studios up in
you can do like
Chihuahua.
an iPhone in the cabin.
Yeah, check out the remix.
How is tour going? We're going to kick it to fan questions in a second.
Yeah.
But I did want to ask about, because this is cool. It's called the Karaoke Extravaganza.
Yeah.
And explain that to me. You're doing karaoke with the fans?
Yeah.
Or you're doing karaoke, or what's going on?
We're all doing karaoke.
Everybody.
When I first moved to Seattle, Washington, where I kind of cut my teeth doing music, I couldn't get a gig. At all. Nobody was just going to hand some loner a gig. And so me and my best friend, we would travel around Seattle and just do karaoke like 6 nights a week. And, one, just to have fun and also to like get me in front of people and like check out my voice. I can sing really well, as like a lot of karaoke people do. So I came up with this idea of why don't we do a celebration and like an album release party for my fans, promoting and sharing the new record with them before it comes out, and then doing karaoke. Like, what's funner than singing Creedence Clearwater Revival songs and like James Taylor songs with your friends? I don't know.
A go-to? Not on tour, but just like if you were going.
Yeah. What I like to do on tour is I like to go do the show and then find the local karaoke bar that like nobody's gonna be at, none of the fans, and I like to show up and sing "Let's Stay Together" by Al Green.
Oh, nice.
Because a lot of, you look at me and you don't expect me to be able to do hardly anything besides roll a joint, and so when I get up on stage, the reaction is like, "Where the hell is this FFA jacket wearing mofo coming from?" So that's always a fun thing for me.
That is awesome. And there are 15 dates. Are we halfway through now? I mean, you did Cutting Room here in Manhattan last week.
Yeah,
Where's the Roxy? Because you're doing the Roxy too in LA.
We're doing the Roxy. So this is the great part about me and my attempt to build my own balance, Kevin, is that I don't look at the schedule at all.
Oh, really?
I have a human being that I pay to tell me where I need to be like 3 hours before I'm supposed to be there. Where are we right now? I don't know when we're in LA, but it's coming up. Yes, the Roxy.
Nice. So you can still grab tickets is, I guess, what I'm trying
Absolutely not. It is sold out to the brim.
There. You're out of luck. Try to find a live stream. Let's get a Twitter really quick. This comes from @DJ Alan Ross. Having traveled the world, is there a place that inspires your music the most?
Home.
Yeah?
Yeah.
When you say home, Seattle?
Washington State.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I live on the eastern side of Washington State in a town called Spokane. Go Gonzaga. And yeah, it's hard for me to ride on the road. You have so many things going and trying to maintain your voice. I sing really hard, so trying to maintain my voice is a craft in itself. So when I'm home and I have the time to decompress, is when inspiration hits.
Right on. Did you ever Seattle? It made me think of the Showbox, right?
Yeah.
Or what's going on with that? Do you know?
Man, I don't know yet. I know that we're doing 2 nights at the Showbox Market. On
that's
my
a
next
good sign.
tour.
'Cause I thought they were like shutting this thing down.
They were talking about it, but we just booked some shows there, so maybe it's still. I definitely signed a petition to keep it around.
Yeah.
Like I said, don't live in Seattle anymore, and I don't really live anywhere anymore because I travel so much.
Right.
But hopefully fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Let's get to some fan questions here in New York City. The first is going to come from over here. What's your name, man?
Kim.
Hey, Kim. How are you, brother?
I'm good. You helped a contestant on American Idol with your song "Unaware."
Yeah.
Did you ever consider going on a singing competition show?
I never considered it, and I'll tell you why. Because one, I wanted to slug it out on the road, and I wanted the experience of living in a van and building a fan base from scratch.
Paying your dues.
Paying my dues, yeah. I felt like as an artist and a writer, though, those are the things that I really needed, was to live some life. And I actually got a call from somebody on The Voice asking me to try out early on in my career, and I remember telling them, like, I appreciate it, that's very flattering, but I'm gonna go play, like, dirty bars for like 15 people for the next 6 years, and I'll see how that works out. So I'm glad I did, and I would encourage any artist who's thinking about that to do the same, to get out and just, man, I played nursing homes, I played barbecues, I played people's living rooms, I've played the most odd and obscure shows, and it all helped build my ability to stand in front of people who don't care about you, because, nowadays with this thing and this phone, it's like you get 15 seconds of people's attention before they're somewhere else watching Red Bull videos of people cliff diving off 400-foot bridges. And so standing in front of people who don't care is like I think it's a craft. I think it truly is. A hit song is nice, that's great, but you don't always have a hit song to sing for people. You got to really operate from an ability to try and keep their attention and keep them going. So to answer your question, no, I never thought about doing that.
I think that's great advice. I mean, I'm sure it's been given before, but that's such a great way to articulate it. It's so important to perform, no matter what you do, right, in front of people that don't care for a while.
Yeah.
I used to do trivia nights, like at bars and really restaurants too, not so much like nice restaurants in New Jersey. And like everything's a cakewalk now, because I used to have to interrupt people's dinners, like families' dinners, with a microphone, just yelling and playing music. And like if you can do that, or if you can like you play like at a nursing home for 15 people.
The nursing home, dude, that's a tough crowd.
Well, is there like a particularly like most lit nursing home that you performed for?
Well, the thing about nursing homes, man, they're so sweet, and folks at nursing homes just love to see people that aren't like nurses taking care of them. So, we played at I used to grow up as a family. Me and my folks, we would go to nursing homes and we would sing like hymns to the residents, and it brought so much joy to. I was a young kid, right? And people in nursing homes love kids. Like you get a 7-8-year-old kid to a nursing home, and they just light up, right? It's a new life, and it's exciting. So I was that. I don't even think I was supposed to come because I could sing, because at that point I really couldn't. But my mom and dad knew, like, oh, this is gonna brighten up their day. It's either Flowers or Alan.
That's awesome. Let's get to one final fan question we have time for, and it'll come from over here.
I was wondering, what artist, living or dead, would you love to collaborate with?
What artist, living or dead? Man, I would love to work with Pharrell, or Janelle Monáe. I'm such a big fan of what those two do. That would be a throw.
Great. All right. I went by too fast, Alan, in my opinion.
It
We're
did.
Unfortunately, out of time. Alan Stone, everybody. Of course, this is this beauty, Building Balance, out November 8th. You can catch him on the road.
Thank you.
The Karaoke Extravaganza Tour.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for being here and for listening. Appreciate it.